We want to apologize for our inability to have yesterday's class, which was due to the network challenge we're experiencing here. Thankfully, the network has been very cooperative today. So we're going to launch into the class, launch into what we have to do today almost immediately. As can be seen from the caption for today's class, we're going to be looking at summary. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Fina, Toshiba, Kashima. I see you all. Good evening. We're going to be doing speaking today. We're going to be having a speaking section, and we'll try as much as possible to make everyone, participate in this class. I'm very sure most of us know how to speak already. Well, we are going to be looking at a few strategies, some basic strategies that they want us to deploy when we speak. So let's quickly look at some of the summaries that we've done on speaking, what speaking is about, what you need to know, the skills that are very important for you when you are speaking, So let's quickly look at them and see how to master them. So I'll share my screen with you immediately so that we can see this. Great. If you can see my screen, please, can you let me know kindly by typing yes on the chat platform? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can continue now. Brilliant. So we have the speaking tests here. Ielts speaking. So what's Ielts speaking about? What's Ielts speaking about? When we say Ielts speaking, what is Ielts speaking? So Ielts speaking is perhaps going to be the first test, maybe the last test you're going to be doing for those of you that are doing pen to paper, that are writing your tests pen to paper. It's likely to be either the first test or the last test if you're doing pen to paper. So they isolate it. You don't do it with other tests like listening, reading, and writing are done on the same day. Then speaking is done on a different day, and most times it's done maybe 2 or 3 days or a day before your exam, or perhaps maybe 2 or 3 days or a day after your exam, depending on how they want to schedule you. However, if you're writing a computer-based test, you are likely to do your speaking on the same day as the other 3 components. So you're doing everything on the same day: writing, listening, speaking, and reading on the same day if you're doing a computer-based test. But if you're doing a paper-based test, you're likely to do your speaking test first, then others on the same day, the 3 others, writing, listening, and speaking on the same day. Or you do the 3 on the same day, then maybe after the exam, you would eventually take the test, the speaking test. Now, the speaking test basically lasts for 10 minutes. It's more or less an interview. The speaking test is like an interview because you're going to be interviewed by the examiner. The examiner will sit with you and have a one-on-one with you, then perhaps ask you questions about yourself and other basic issues. So that's what the speaking test is. So it's a very simple kind of test. It's not a big deal. So now let's look at speaking from the perspective of, wow. Sorry, hold on. It's the wrong material. I'm sharing the wrong material. Just let me look for the right one to share with you, please. Hold on 1 minute. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. Okay. So so let's look at speaking from. What are the 3 basic aspects of speaking? What are the 3 basic aspects of speaking? Let me stop sharing. I'm trying to get the material. So what are the three basic aspects of speaking? Speaking is divided into three basic aspects. I think some people tell you that it's 4 aspects, not 3. Speaking is, we have section 0, section 1, section 2, and section 3. That should be 4. Section 0, section 1, section 2, and section 3. Yeah, so but the section 0 is actually it's not important because at that point, the examiner has not started scoring you. Section 1 is called a dialogue of speaking. Then section 2 is called a monologue, while section 3 is called themes from the monologue. So we are going to be looking at that critically. I'm just trying to just tell you the structure of Ielts speaking. You know, Ielts speaking is structured in one, the first section, which is basically the first section, section 0, which is basically the introduction. You don't do anything there, so the examiner doesn't score you. You know, then the second section is the introductory part where the examiner, you introduce yourself and the examiner asks you questions about yourself, basically. Then the monologue where you be the one to talk alone. Then the themes, the messages from the monologue, which is the last part. You know, so we are going to be looking at that critically. But before we do that, let's look at some of the skills that are important for you to use when you speak. There are some important skills that the examiner wants you to deploy when you speak. Now, remember I said in the last class that speaking and writing have the same characteristics, while reading and listening have the same characteristics. So the basic characteristic of writing is if the examiner is marking your script or evaluating you as a writer, the basic area the examiner watches out for are whether you can achieve your task as a writer, whether your vocabulary range is good, whether you know how to write a cohesive work, you know how to bring your work together, or your work is clear enough, which is coherent. Then your grammar, whether you write grammatically correct sentences and you use different sentence types. That is what the examiner basically watches out for when he marks your writing. Then the same applies to speaking. When you are speaking, the examiner wants to know whether you can use your grammar will be right. You can use grammatically correct sentences. Then the examiner also wants to evaluate your range, the kind of sentence types you're using. The examiner will also want to look at your vocabulary. Are you using the right set of words to describe what you're saying? What you say, do they really express what your intentions really are? That's your vocabulary. That means the words that you use. Then eventually the examiner looks at your task achievement. Are you generating your content that you're generating? Are they related to what the examiner asked you or not? So basically, that is what the examiner looks at. So there's a lot of relationship between writing and speaking, because both of them are expressive skills. They are expressive skills. You are the one generating your content. When you are speaking and when you are writing, you are also the one generating your content. But when you are listening, you are receiving the content from the examiner. And when you are reading, you're also receiving the content. So the marking criteria for speaking and writing are almost the same. Now, having said that, it's important for you to know that one of the most important thing that you need to have as a speaker is your confidence. You have to be a confident speaker. We used to tell people that if you are speaking, regardless of whether what you are saying is right or wrong, you have to be confident. Say it confidently. Yeah, you have to be confident, because you don't want to present yourself as someone who is not sure of what they are doing. You know, you have to present yourself as a confident person. You know what you are doing. You know, so that the examiner doesn't have a kind of impression about you, you know, that you not have the quality to deliver because you're not confident. Some people speak very well, but they're not charismatic, they're not confident. So you need a lot of charisma going into speaking, okay? You have to be charismatic, you have to be confident. Then in speaking, apart from being confident, of course, you don't allow fear factor or other element to affect the quality of your speech, because if you make yourself, if you have a feeling of defeat, like maybe you're scared of the examiner and you position yourself in a very wrong way psychologically, it could affect the quality of delivery. It'll be so funny that the words that common words that you probably will not be able to remember them because you are scared. Your fear has dominated you. So one of the things we say, do not be scared. Do not allow fear affect you, so that you can optimize your space. You can optimize, you can maximize whatever potential you have, like as a speaker, your vocabularies, your sentences, do not allow fear to impede your fluency, whatever knowledge you have, because if you are scared, you can't do very well in Ielts speaking, So the examiners actually they are very good. They would probably make you to feel at home, but do not unsettle yourself by making yourself not to feel at home. Okay, just take charge of the speaking environment, and it takes us to the next level where you have to be a natural speaker. You have to be a natural speaker. Do not speak like someone. Do not speak with a British accent if you do not have one, or do not speak with an American accent or an Australian accent if you do not have one. Be natural. Speak in such a way that the examiner can hear what you are pronouncing. Of course, pronounce your words clearly so that the examiner can understand what you are hearing. Be natural. Feel free. Do not put yourself in a tight position that will make it difficult for you to speak. So assume the examiner is your friend, and just speak with the examiner the way you would ordinarily speak with a friend. That would give you that natural slang to make it to be natural when you speak, which the examiner like a lot. So pronunciation is very important. We said that already. So ensure you pronounce your words clearly. I would advise that you also check what do you call it? Matilda. I would advise that you check what they call it. Check silent consonants. Check silent consonants, because sometimes I think most of us do not obey the rules of silent consonants. We just pronounce the words like that, So be mindful of silent consonants. So that could be one of the assignments you should do. Silent consonants. Like, for example, it's not plumber, it is plumber. So check. There are many words like that in Nigeria we do not pronounce well. So try as much as possible to learn how to pronounce those words clearly. It's not new. It's new. It's new. It's not new. So check those words that we do not pronounce very well as Nigerians and ensure you pronounce them very well. It's not comb. It's comb. So we have silent consonant. Check for your silent consonant. Plumber. Thank you very much, Sadi. It's not plumber. So what is silent is the B. Is the B. It's plumber. It's the B should not be pronounced. It's a consonant that should not be pronounced when you're pronouncing plumber. Yes, buffet, exactly, fair. So there are many of them like that. You see, the T is silent. Listen, brilliant. Thank you very much, Matilda. You're doing a nice job already. The T in listen is silent. It's not listening, it's listen. Brilliant. Okay, so do your homework just like Matilda is doing already for us. So pronunciation is actually key. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, Matilda, we know. As if you are a speech therapist. Are you? Okay, so let's continue. So yeah, now we've talked about pronunciation. Let's go to another important area. Please listen attentively to this part. It's actually very important, So if the examiner is asking you a question, there are 4 reasons why you have to listen attentively to the examiner. If the examiner is asking you a question, you have to listen attentively for 4 reasons. There are 4 reasons you have to do this. The first reason is because you want to understand the question the examiner is asking, so that you don't keep telling the examiner to repeat. So listen attentively in order for you to understand the entire question, so that when you are producing your content, you produce a content that would generally address all the areas of the examiner's question, and to avoid telling the examiner to repeat his question all the time. We are not saying that it is it's not, you could ask the examiner if you did not understand what the examiner probably said, but avoid asking the examiner all the time to probably repeat what he said or she said, please. So that's why you have to listen attentively. The second reason you have to listen attentively is because you have to know whether the question is a singular question or a plural question, whether the examiner wants you to have to give a singular response or a plural response. Let me give you a good example. The examiner says, what are the festivals? What are the festivals? Or what festivals do you celebrate in your village? What festivals do you celebrate in your village? So it means that you should give like more than one festival. You could do two if you like, but it should be more than one, So do not restrict yourself to one. But the examiner says, what is the major festival? It means he wants you to give only one festival, talk about one. So you should listen attentively to be sure of whether your response should be a plural response or a singular response based on whether the question is a singular question or a plural question. I don't know if that's clear, Then the third reason you have to listen attentively to the examiner is because the examiner uses some content words that he wants you to replace. Remember, we talked about vocabulary. The examiner is testing the quality and quantity of your vocabulary. What kind of vocabulary do you use? Are you using good vocabulary or not? I don't know if you understand. So now the examiner is asking you a question, for example, is asking you, where do you, saying, I live words, so that you change them when you are what? Responding. What are content words? We've talked about that already. Content words are words that have synonyms that are changeable. So listen attentively to the examiners. This one go hard, Sadiq. Why is this one go hard? So listen to the examiner's content words and try and change them as much as possible. You have to listen attentively as the examiner is articulating his question. Is it plural or singular? What is his content word? Understand what he's saying is entirety so you can produce a correspondingly perfect response. Then the last area, which is the fourth reason you should listen carefully to examiner, is you should be able to know whether the examiner's question is an opinion question or a discussion question. An opinion prompt or a discussion prompt. For example, the examiner is asking, how do you unwind? How do you unwind? So that the examiner is asking you because he wants your opinion on that, it's your personal opinion. But if the examiner is saying that, how do individuals unwind in your area? Or what does society think about something? It is not your personal opinion, it's what society thinks, So it's not asking you. So we have learned that already in our writing, that when the question is an opinion question, you should use your personal opinion to respond using a tone of certainty because it's your opinion. But when the question is a discussion question, you will use a tone of uncertainty to answer, because you are not sure. So when you're talking about everybody, society, it's a discussion question. They're not asking you specifically. So you're not very sure. You're using might, may, could when you're answering. But when they're asking you, then it means they're asking you, you can be certain and, you can authoritatively talk about it. I don't know if you understand. So we mentioned 4 reasons you should listen attentively. 1, you have to listen whether it's an opinion question or a discussion question. So you have to listen attentively because you have to identify the examiner's content words when the examiner is articulating his sentence or his question so that you can change them immediately. Probably, yes. Then we also talked about listening attentively in order for you to know whether you're going to be giving a plural response or a singular response. Then the 4th reason is for you to understand the entire question in order for you to provide what an answer that would address all the issues that the examiner raised. I don't know if that's clear. Can we continue? Please give me a yes if everything is flowing well so that we can continue, or not. Brilliant, Henry, brilliant, brilliant. You know, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's continue. Then we're going to the next part. Still, we're talking about some of the skills that you need to use. We said it is important for you to not to use too many fillers, not to use many fillers. What are fillers? Fillers are like the ums, ems, arms, you know, when you're talking, you use these fillers. So do not use too many of them, even though it is normal for you to use some, because sometimes they make your speech natural. You're not reading from a slide. For crying out loud, you are, generating words, and it's not easy. So even though you are going to be using fillers, do not litter your work, your speech with fillers. Don't have too many fillers in your speech. Even though it's not a taboo for you to, you can use them, but do not use too many of them. So restrict the way you use of fillers as much as possible. Now, the questions are actually not quite easy. The examiner could ask you a question, and they want you to spontaneously produce an answer. They're asking a question. The examiner expects that at the end of his question, then you are producing your answer. So some persons might ask, what about if you do not have an idea of the examiner? You don't have an idea on the subject matter. What are you going to do? Because that could pose, it could affect the quality of the, especially if your fluency, to affect your fluency. But the answer to that question would be that you could give an answer that is related to the question. Your response mustn't be like 100% correct, but in as much as the response you are giving is related to the topic, the examiner would accept it, because they know that this is spontaneous. You don't have much time to think, before you produce your answers. So, and you should know that Ielts speaking is not about what's said, it's about how said. Let me repeat this. IELTS speaking is not about what's said, it's about how said. So it is about how you are saying the things you are saying, not what you are saying, because they know that you are not an expert in that field. You might not be an expert in the field. Maybe they're asking you a question that has to do with architecture, for example, and you have a very limited knowledge on architecture. So the examiner does not expect you to produce a fantastic response, but say something related to it. And in saying that, you ensure that your grammatical and linguistic element of your speech should be good enough, because that is what the examiner is evaluating. Grammar, how using your word, pronunciation, so those are the things, grammatical elements, linguistic elements, those are the things the examiners watch out for, not necessarily the quantity of ideas that you can develop. No, that's not their business, So this tells us that every answer you give to a great extent is correct. That's why I said, be confident and say whatever you are saying, confidently, in as much as they are grammatically correct and they are linguistically correct. So say those things, whatever you're going to be saying, confidently. Ensure that they're actually related to the subject matter. You're not leaving the corridor of the subject matter, even though you're not producing maybe the exact thing. But if you can produce the exact issue in line with the subject matter, better for you. But if you cannot, the examiner, I bet you, will not penalize you, because that is not what he's basically judging. The examiner's attention will basically fixed or on what? Will be on your grammatical elements and your linguistic elements, how you apply them. They just have to ask you a question so that you can talk. That's the reason they are having that interaction with you, So they're not necessarily testing your knowledge, your in-depth knowledge on the subject matter. That's not their business, So I don't know if that's taken. So that should give you more confidence going into your speaking, that you can answer any question anytime. Avoid what is called unhealthy pause. An unhealthy pause is when the examiner asks you a question and you kept quiet for like a long time because you don't know what to say. You do not know what to say. The examiner posed his question and is expecting a response from you. You are quiet because you probably do not have any idea on the topic, or you have zero idea on the topic. So you are like, what am I going to say? You are quiet. So do not give the examiner that kind of opportunity to yeah,